If memory serves, that's this episode of the... I can't even remember what show I'm doing. Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd, and in this episode of Star Trek Discovery, we learned quite a lot. There's a lot going on in this episode, including, as promised in the preview, that we would see something of Talis 4. And that was where, when we left the last episode, that Michael and Spock were headed. Spock still only semi-conscious, and Burnham trying to figure out just what Talos 4 was about. As we find out in this episode, the general order prohibiting travel to Talos 4 has already been put in effect by the time of this episode, so that by going to Talos 4, Burnham is once again committing mutiny. And this is a situation in which it ties up not only her, but Spock and virtually the entire Discovery crew. There are a lot of things that happen on board Discovery. There is a confrontation between Hugh Culber and Tyler, kind of guessed by a lot of people from the previews, and some more disheartening things that are happening in the relationship between Culber and Stamets. So there are some things that are going to be worked on in subsequent episodes. One good line in here where Michael and Spock are able to talk really for the first time in a long time. She says to him, "You really think the beard is working?" I thought that was a clever one. There were some other clever lines in there, but that one really covered a good deal of it. We see more of the more macho attitude of Saru and the concern that Pike has about that and allowing the fight between Tyler and Culber. We also see a saboteur aboard, and Tyler, of course, being the main suspect, seeing that it was his access codes and the fact that he's already working for Section 31 and is already under some kind of suspicion as well. And then we see Vina again, played here by an actress that looks very close to the original actress that played Vina. So, and in fact, the way the episode opens with showing clips from the original pilot of the original series was a clever touch and gives us kind of the idea that what we're seeing here is still connected, although different actors playing the parts, different special effects in effect. They're tying it together by basically saying this is the way it's been shown to you before, this is the way it's being shown to you now. I kind of like the effect. It makes some kind of sense. It's almost like subtitles translating foreign languages and then the people start speaking English. So I kind of take it in that kind of vein. So we find out a number of things going on. First of all, what it was that caused Burnham and Spock to have their lack of speaking terms, and it was predictable. Basically, we figured that she would be doing something that would protect him and had to say something that she didn't mean that hurt him. And that, in fact, is what happened. Spock these days is a little more understanding of this, I guess. But you can see under the surface, as always with Spock, the outside, he's pure logic. On the inside, you know there's something else. And, you know, this is something in the original series McCoy was always poking at. There's more to you than just this. And Spock says, no, I was behaving perfectly logically. And we knew that he wasn't. And in fact, even in one of the movies in Star Trek VI, the Undiscovered Country, he says, are you telling me, Spock, that logic alone governs your actions? And Spock said, I would not tell you what you know so well. And it leaves it kind of vague, but I kind of think that what he was saying was, no, you know me so well, you know that I'm half human, and I'm not going to admit it, but you know that logic alone does not dictate my actions. So that is telling us a lot about Spock. It's telling us about the relationship between him and Michael, and even though that he has heretofore wanted nothing to do with her, has found it necessary to take her with him to Talis 4 in order to understand what he's seen and perhaps help him interpret it, maybe in the same way that human emotions were something she was supposed to help him interpret when they were both living together as brother and sister on Vulcan. What we have found out about the angels is that they are disrupting the timeline, and if they're not stopped, they will disrupt all life in the galaxy. And that would lead me to believe that everything that the angels have helped with have caused changes in the timeline, maybe even including the time when Burnham tries to run away. Perhaps she was successful, and perhaps that's why Spock never mentions her subsequently. Maybe it is not a matter of Spock clinging to logic because she hurt his feelings, but rather Spock clinging to logic because a sister that he looked up to disappeared and died, perhaps. So I'm thinking that in order to fix all of this, we're going to have to kind of go back to the original timeline, because there's a number of things that can't be reversed. Pike and the entire ship now are guilty of mutiny, and how are they going to reconcile this with Starfleet? And how are they going to deal with the situation where Spock is court-martialed later in the original series with the menagerie? They would say that they acted as if no one has been back to Talis 4 since Pike's first voyage. So either this is kept Section 31 top secret, or it just never happened. It was a time aberration. We know that there's been some time aberrations from previous episodes where they were caught into it. We do know that Arium was affected by something. We're not quite sure what, but now it appears that she was in receipt of a transmission from Section 31 and is now being used as a plant. Perhaps she is not aware of this, or maybe she is and is just holding back. But we find that she is probably the one that is responsible for Section 31 catching up to them as they're trying to rescue Spock and Burnham. And from the previews for next week, there's going to be more interaction, and she is going to be quite obvious to at least Burnham that she's the person to be blamed and not Tyler. So we'll also see more of Section 31. We know that we're going to go to the Section 31 base, and this will give us some background on that organization and perhaps give us some insight on how they go underground and what causes them to be rejected by Starfleet as a division of Starfleet and then go underground and become a very secret organization on their own. So there's a lot of questions asked. We still have 6 episodes to go, so there is much to be learned before we get to the end of this season, and in which we'll know something a little bit more about what effects the Red Angels are having and what Spock meant when he said we need them to go to their logical conclusion in order to find out what they're doing. So more questions asked than answered, but a few things that have been worrying us have been answered. We now unite Burnham and Spock and Pike on Discovery, and Discovery is now a fugitive ship. So I'd like to know what you think at this point. Has this become too muddled, or are we getting ready for some major action to take place? Let me know in the comments, and as always, please remember to subscribe and click the bell for more information and more for future videos to be delivered right to your door by whatever means that things are delivered. It's been a long week. Until next time, don't go far.